Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Michelle. So, evening everyone. Welcome to our first Careers Live of the new academic year, Kickstart Your Career with Lloyds Banking Group. I'm Becky, a growth manager in savings. So, the first week back at school or college can feel like a whirlwind, right? New timetables, deadlines, and the big question, so what's next after this year? Tonight is all about making that question less stressful and more exciting. So we're going to explain how apprenticeships, grad schemes and work experience at Lloyds Banking Group actually work. And you're going to hear from real people who have been where you are.
And I'm Jamie, a stress testing and impairment analyst. In the next hour, we'll give you insider info on opportunities at Lloyds, hear real stories from apprentices and grads who are literally in your shoes last year, and understand how your career doesn't always have to be in a straight path. By the end, we're hoping you'll leave feeling more knowledgeable and sure of your next steps. At Lloyds, we consider ourselves an inclusive employer in everything we do. You can enable closed captions now if you find that beneficial, and if you'd like more time to consider the content tonight, then the recording of this webinar will be in our Lloyds Early Careers YouTube channel tomorrow. You can rewatch it all there along with a transcript of the show.
And so that you're comfortable using the chat function, could you all just drop one word in the chat for how you're feeling about your future right now? So you could be excited, you could be feeling a bit stressed or confused, nervous, happy, excited, confused, thrilled. That's a good one. I would say looking back, I was probably a little bit confused myself, to be honest.
I think I was nervous.
Okay, so now you're familiar with that, we've got two quick polls for you to try. So the first one, on a scale from 1 to 5, how much knowledge would you say you've got on grad schemes, internships and apprenticeships? Seeing a lot of 2s and 3s mostly at the moment. Hopefully that will become some 4s and 5s by the end. Yeah, cool. Mainly 3s.
And the second poll, on a scale of 1 to 5, to what extent do you feel Lloyds Banking Group is your preferred choice of employer? So seeing mainly 3s and 4s, which is good. And hopefully those 1s and 2s will get higher up as of this webinar.
So from time to time, as Michelle said, we're going to open up the Q&As and the chat. So at certain points tonight, we'll delve into the chat to see what common themes are emerging. But we do encourage you to relax into the show and listen carefully, because we're going to give out lots of important information that you might sometimes miss if you're busy thinking up from questions. So now let's hear from our first guest, Ian. To kick us off, Ian is the early careers lead, and he's the person that knows exactly what opportunities are out there and how you can get involved. Over to you.
Well, evening, everybody. Thank you so much. So what would you like to know then, you guys, all about apprenticeships and what we're hiring for this year? So hi, everybody. My name is Ian. I look after, as Becky said, I look after early careers here at Lloyds. And what we thought we'll do this evening is help you understand a little bit about the schemes that we have, and then something about what your application process is like. I believe that Jamie and Becky, you've got some questions for me in there. But I think your first question is around what schemes are we hiring to and where for this year, and roughly when about as well in there. So in terms of apprenticeships for this year, we're bringing our recruitment window forward. So dates for your diary, and this is why it's a really important careers live for us, is we expect to be launching apprenticeship vacancies in the early part of October. So certainly by around mid-October, they will be there. And then the window for you to apply will be around about 30 days. The big thing to remember, though, is based on our hiring volumes, and this is similar for a lot of organizations, if we get a lot of applications for a particular scheme, then we may close that early. So don't hang around. It's not like a kind of like a college assignment where you want to leave it till the last minute. If you see an opportunity and you want to go for it, our guidance would be go for it, because you may find that we close a scheme early if we absolutely need to. Now, in terms of the locations that we're hiring into for this year, for apprenticeships, our main hiring bases and the bulk of our vacancies will be going into Bristol and Leeds and Edinburgh. And then there will be some additional vacancies in Manchester and Birmingham and London. So think of it in two tiers, really. The bulk of those vacancies will go into Bristol and Leeds and Edinburgh. And then there will be some opportunities that are there in London and in Birmingham and in Manchester as well. Now, for the schemes that we operate, there are quite a lot of them, so I don't want to take up too much of the time just trying to read them all out in there. But an easier way to think about this is to think about dividing the schemes into between the business and then the technology side of the apprenticeships that we're going to be offering. So from an apprenticeship perspective, which we'll focus on today then, on the business side, you've got finance, actuarial, which are people who do kind of long-term planning for us. So really good if you're quite good with numbers and maths. So you've got finance, actuarial, data analyst, audit, and risk. And then we're introducing a marketing apprenticeship for the first time this year. And then recurring coming back for another season will be our HR apprenticeships. And then in the technology side, then you have data and you've got software engineering and one that I forgot to mention, which is corporate banking, which is called financial services professional level 6 in there as well. And that's also going to be available in Crown dependency. So you're talking there Jersey and the Isle of Man. I would just say on that one, you need to already be living in a Crown dependency. You don't get to go and travel to one just for that as well. So there's a lot to cover there, and that's a lot for you to kind of remember. But the main thing there is that you've got a division between business side apprenticeships and then technology apprenticeships, and then the corresponding as well at around about the end of September, the graduate programs, if you're looking at graduate vacancies, they will also be launched around the same time. But just a lot for me to kind of like list off for you. Both will give you about a month to apply. Don't hang around, as we said. Jamie, did you have any more questions for me, or shall I just keep going?
I think what I'm seeing a lot in the Q&A is, are there any certain A levels or GCSEs required for any of the apprenticeships?
Yeah, no, this is a really good thing. So if you're leaving school, which most of you will be, if this is like last year at school and then you're looking to now move on into an apprenticeship, what we're doing is hiring for potential. So that's the main thing in there. So we're not expecting that you've already done these jobs before. We know what it's like. We know what the job landscape is and the availability of work experience. What we're looking for is potential. So you can draw on different things you've done in your past, experiences you have, responsibilities at school, even responsibilities you have within your family as well that you can draw on that help us to understand what do you do and how do you get up and go when somebody else isn't driving instructions and giving you instructions? Because that's the key thing that we're looking for is how do you move yourself and how do you move and motivate other people as well? Now, in terms of qualifications that you need, most of the apprenticeship programs don't really require specific A-level subjects or GCSE subjects. You will generally, we would be wanting GCSE English and Maths passes, but if you're at A-level, T-level or Scottish Highers and Advanced Highers at the moment, the main scheme where we do have a subject requirement in there is in actuarial, where we would be looking for you to be studying maths. In all honesty, that's also because actuarial is a deeply numerical subject. And if maths isn't your thing, then it's probably not the right thing for you as being an area to move into as well. But other than that, it doesn't really matter as far as subjects are concerned. Generally, if you're heading towards a level 4 apprenticeship, you just need your GCSEs. If you're going up into a degree level apprenticeship, you'd be looking at A-level grades of around the BCC level and then Scottish equivalent in UCAS points as well. Jamie, what else should we cover? I can cover what happens when you make your application and what happens when it goes into the scheme. Oh, you've gone on mute.
I think that'd be a really good one to cover. There's a lot of sort of questions about the process of actually applications.
Yeah, we can do that. All right. Well, I'll describe that, and you can have a look through to see what else is there in the questions in there as well. Okay, so for apprenticeships, it varies slightly according to each apprenticeship, and we will describe everything that you need to know really, really clearly in the job description. And if you're at all unsure, then later on in this program, we'll show you and give you the link to our connector platform. There you can link in with our next gen navigators, who are colleagues like Jamie from Lloyds Banking Group, and then we'll find you the answer to those specific questions in there. But generally speaking, what you'll be doing is you'll be applying in a web form. We use a platform called Workday, like many other employers as well. And the best thing is really, I would be saying to you as students, is construct a core CV, an extended CV with all of your skills and experiences on there, so that when you're doing all of these things with different employers, it just makes it a lot easier for you to just grab information from one place and drop it into that web form. So you'll have a series of questions to do within Workday, and then that will be your first application sent in. And then we will scan that. And what you really want to do is to kind of make sure that that application kind of matches the job that you're actually applying to as an apprenticeship. Then we will scan that, and if we think that you're a good fit, then we will invite you then into doing pre-assessment tasks. These pre-assessment tasks can be different according to the different apprenticeship you may be applying for. So you may have something called a video interview. And that's where we will send you a link to a platform, and you will have a couple of questions to answer, and the camera will just come on and you'll give your answer in there. We may ask you to do some reasoning tests of verbal numeric reasoning and critical thinking. If you're applying to a technology one, we may be looking for doing a bit of a technology test to understand suitability for our programs. These things you don't really have to worry about, and we will give you a practice zone so you can see everything that's there. We definitely don't want people to fall over just because they're not experienced with these processes. So we will show you the practice zone. We will show you areas where you can have a go at these things, because we always want you to be able to perform at your best in these tasks with no surprises. And then when you do those pre-assessment tasks, and then a number of people from there will then be invited into an assessment center. Assessment centers may be in person, they may be online. And in an assessment center is our opportunity to get to see you in a little bit more detail. So then you'll have a more extended interview with colleagues from Lloyds Banking Group. You'll be doing some games and exercises around showing your critical thinking analytical skills, and also how you work as a group in a group exercise as well. And again, if we invite you to that, we will give you plenty of practice and again, lots of insight in order to be your best and show off your best inside those things. And the way to look at this, I think, is like this. Not everybody, of course, will make it from this call tonight, will make it into Lloyds Banking Group. If it was down to me, I'd have all of you, all 3,500, and that's not going to happen. But wherever you fall through this, and with every employer, recognizing yourself that every time you reach a certain stage and you get invited to the next one, you're already showing that you're successful at something. Learn as you apply to different apprenticeships. All the things that you're learning through these recruitment processes will make it easier next time and better next time. So everything that works for you as you're doing applications for apprenticeships, write it down in your little book so you can repeat it next time and make life for yourself so much easier as you go through this process. Jamie, and how are we doing against questions? Because I'm just talking to the camera and you've got the advantage over me of seeing the things in there. What are we missing?
I think there's a lot of people asking about if we just offer normal level 4 apprenticeships, or do we offer that to that degree level equivalent to going to university and that qualifications.
Yep. Okay. So we have some apprenticeships at level 4. And we have some apprenticeships that are built-in ladders from level 4. So audit would be an example of that, where you would initially come in and you will do an audit apprenticeship at level 4. And then assuming that you're successful in that, then you would automatically progress into a higher apprenticeship from there. And I think the audit one finishes at a level 7 currently in there. So you can jump from level 4 into masters. Some of them, otherwise, you're just joining straight in at level 6. And some of them, or level 5, level 6 is degree apprenticeship, of course. Some of them will just finish at level 4. And then when you finish, you are a colleague of Lloyds Banking Group and you're free to take your career any which way you want, including going on to another apprenticeship if that is what furthers your career. And we have plenty of people in Lloyds Banking Group who have built their entire career over maybe 10 years through multiple apprenticeships. I certainly know some people who've done 3 and they've built their career that way in there. And just on that note, Jamie, because it is different from different employers, the way we do this hiring in Lloyds Banking Group is when you come to join us as an apprentice, you are joining us as a permanent colleague of Lloyds Banking Group. So we won't be, we don't do fixed term contracts for apprenticeships. Your job is your job. And then when you finished your apprenticeship, what we'd be then looking for you to do is to continue developing and growing as a colleague and furthering your career with Lloyds Banking Group. Maybe you choose to change roles. I think we've got Becky presenting today. You can talk about that. That's something that Becky's done in her career in there. So maybe you're carving a squiggly career, or maybe you're going to kind of deepen your technical expertise. But once you're in, career is yours to carve out the way that you see fit, and there are plenty of opportunities. Jamie, you have the advantage over me, although I'm sure that the chat's probably scrolling quite.
Yeah, I think you've sort of just brought it up there with once you're on, you are a full-time employee. It might be worth going into a bit of actually what a day-to-day sort of life would be once you actually get into Lloyds.
Yeah, so when you join as an apprentice, look, we're in this season at the moment, right, where we're I'm based in Bristol. This is the office behind me. Up above me, if he stamps his foot, we've got Tom. You'll see later. He's on the floor just above me. Right now is this period where you see lots of people wandering around trying to find things because there are new joiners, and we've got a big event for them next week to welcome them to Lloyds Banking Group. So we spend a lot of time with you when you first join Lloyds Banking Group, making sure that you get to know the building, make sure you understand the reward package that you're on, but also creating that social network and those new work friends that you have as well. It is different to go into uni, of course. I don't think we quite have the freshers fair that you might have if you go to uni. Not to my knowledge, at least nobody invited me to the freshers fair if there is one in there. But it is important that you spend a lot of time with the people that you work with in there, and so we do what we can to help you bond and make friends. The other thing which also is important as well are the inclusivity groups that we have. So we have groups that focus on community volunteering. We have our Bold network. We have a range of networks for colleagues who have an affiliation and experience of neurodiversity, and the list goes on and on as well. And if you're not finding a group that you affiliate with, start one up really in there as well, because we're learning all the time. Our latest network that has just been added is called Boost, and that's for a network for colleagues who have maybe in their background, they reflect on a background of disadvantage and challenges as well. So there are always ways in which you can connect, not just within your team, but also across the organization.
Ben,
How are we doing?
I think we've got time for one more question. I think it's an easy one. In terms of age range, obviously there's a minimum age of when people can start applying, working for might be worth going into sort of
over that
different schemes and what ages you need to be.
Yeah, so slightly different here between England and Scotland because of the difference in education systems. So you could be 17 in Scotland. We would want you to be 18 on the day that you start in England, which for most of you doing A levels or T levels or BTECs at the moment, that will be absolutely fine because that would be for the majority of you. We often get asked, is there a maximum age for apprenticeships? I think the oldest apprenticeship so far went to work for Barclays and was 72. So I don't think there's anybody on this call today who probably has to worry about being the older apprentice in there as well. So there is no upper limit. And just for those of you who are joining, if you're in university at the moment and coming off a final degree, probably worth saying, a question that sometimes comes up is, if I have a degree, can I then go and do an apprenticeship? So the answer to that is yes, you can, but you can't go and do it in a subject that you've already studied at university. We draw on government funding for apprenticeships, and government wants to make sure that that money is spent on really developing people. So you can take, for example, if you studied a geography degree and you want to then go into data science or in financial services or go into audit, that's absolutely fine. But you can't, for example, do a finance degree and then go in to do a finance apprenticeship. And it would be boring anyway. Why would you want to go and do something that you've already studied? Go and challenge yourself to learn something new.
Cool. I think that is it for questions. Thanks so much, Ian.
What I'll do is I'll stay in the chat, all right, because I know you've got lots of other guests to introduce as well. But I'll stay in the chat and I'll try and cover anything else that you guys have, and then otherwise use our next gen mentors, which we'll talk about later on in the show. Thanks for inviting me, Jamie.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. That was obviously clearly packed with lots of useful tips. And I think a lot of people in the chat will be breathing a sigh of relief, hearing that grades and connections aren't the only thing that really matter. And as Ian said, a reminder to keep putting your questions in the chat, and Myra and Ian will do their very best to work through the different questions. Now, let's hear from some of the people who've actually taken those different routes in.
Okay, so joining us now are Celine, Freya, and Tom, and they're three people who've made it into Lloyds, but in completely different ways. So Celine joined via a grad scheme, Freya as an apprentice, and Tom started with work experience before joining as an apprentice. Let's hear what their journeys look like.
Let's start with the first question. To build on Ian's point on researching an organisation, how did you research Lloyds? Freya, if you can start us off, please.
Hi. I came to Lloyds on the finance apprenticeship through when the apprenticeship team visited my sixth form. It was a great opportunity to open my eyes to kind of the other routes, except from uni, into the bank. After they came in, I spent some time exploring the Lloyds careers website to understand the different roles and pathways into Lloyds, and then using LinkedIn to look at current apprentices who'd already done what I was looking at doing. It was great seeing some real examples to picture myself in the organisation and then give me the confidence to apply for the role.
Brilliant. That's very good to hear. And Celine, if you could go next.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on the HR graduate scheme here at Lloyds. I'm definitely echoing all the points that Freya made. The first thing I did was check the Lloyds Banking Group website. I found that there was a lot of detail on the website on the company, as well as on the specific graduate scheme that I was interested in. So I would say that's a great place to start. Another thing that I used is LinkedIn. So there's many people at Lloyds, especially graduates and apprentices, that are really big advocates. So you can find a lot on LinkedIn on what types of projects people have worked on, or even just a feel of what the culture and community is like at Lloyds. I also used it as a base to connect with people that worked at Lloyds already that I had something in common with. So perhaps we went to the same university, and asked for virtual coffee catch-ups to find out a little bit more too.
Yeah, LinkedIn can be a brilliant way to learn about all the colleagues in a company, and get to know sort of what their day-to-day life is like. And then last but not least, Tom, if you would like to answer.
Yeah, I have to echo a lot of the same points as the other two. I looked through the website at the career opportunities and what kind of things that they offered for progression down the line. Because I was researching before a placement, not before joining full time, which then did lead into the full time role. But yeah, I used LinkedIn, the website, researched up on what the possible futures were, like going into an apprenticeship or the graduate scheme if I did uni. Loads of different opportunities, and even once you're in, there's further learning with apprenticeships for permanent employees.
And Tom, straight back to you for the next question. What made you feel like Lloyds was the right place for you?
I knew there's a great community here after I did my placement because I'd spent time with my team. And I was like, I knew I wanted to come back, and the team had been so welcoming, helpful, and supportive with my development, as I didn't know anything at 17 years old, I think, when I first worked here. And there was also so many opportunities that I could see to get involved with things, meet some brilliant people at different events, and just kind of get yourself out there and improve your skills in loads of different ways.
Yeah, it's a real welcoming culture, isn't it? Celine, what about you?
Yeah, so kind of similar points, but for me, one of the main things that kind of intrigued me about Lloyds was just how the graduate scheme works. So the HR scheme and many of the other schemes are quite rotational. So that means you can do different placements and have experience in different areas. And this is something that intrigued me because I'm still early in my career and I'm not quite 100% sure on what I want to do next, and not all companies offer this. So, for example, I've worked in group inclusion, HR tech, and now I'm moving into a more traditional HR role, and that's just been my experience. And secondly, and kind of feeding off the point from before, you get to experience so many different areas of HR for me personally, and you also get a qualification through that as well, which I've really enjoyed.
And Freya?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, but a big thing for me was the apprenticeship community in the location I'm based at. We go on get-togethers as apprentices, so it's nice to see what other people are going through as well, but also how my day-to-day teams support that as well. There's a real encouragement and collaboration within the teams, and then the development as well. Not just in the apprenticeship, but beyond that as well. You can see how all the other colleagues as well are still focused on their development even further down in their career. So it's something that really drew me to Lloyds.
Yeah, you do get a lot of support here, don't you, throughout your whole career?
And then final question. Celine, I'll be starting off with you. When you started at Lloyds, what did you find most surprising?
I think I'd probably touch on something Ian mentioned earlier, and it's just a lot with the networks and things that you can get involved with outside of your day job here. So, for example, I'm really passionate about mental health, and I was given full freedom to run an event I had an idea of doing around preventing burnout. So, finding panelists, creating a script, and kind of putting the comms out for that. Similarly, I'm really passionate about kind of race and ethnicity as well as social mobility, and last week was able to launch a bold network in the Leeds office with over 70 attendees. So that's just kind of an insight into some of the things that you can do as a graduate and apprentice outside of your day job, which really surprised me.
Yeah, I found that as well. You can just do so much, and you can follow your passions as well as your day-to-day job. Freya, if we go over to you next.
I think for me, it was how quickly I was trusted to contribute in the team. So within the first few months, I kind of just expected to shadow people and observe, but I was actually given real responsibility quite early on, which was nice. It made me think that I was actually delivering things in the team and helped me kind of find my purpose and where I fit in the team. It just helped me to build my confidence and feel like I was actually adding value. And we aren't just here to learn as apprentices, but actually to make an impact, and that our kind of voices are also heard in the teams as well. So that was really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. Lloyds invests a lot into apprentices, and obviously it's that impact that they're investing. So it's really good work that what you will be doing once you get in. And then Tom, over to you.
Yeah, I have to echo once again what Freya said. The amount of responsibility that I felt like I had from the moment I joined was really surprising. And not in a bad way at all. It was great that my team was able to trust me and give me real work and make me feel valued. And then also along with that, being given a lot of time to develop, like so much extra learning, whatever I needed, and support on that, and being able to reach out to my team, and just ask them for help always is really great. And then also the chance to go to all sorts of events and meet some brilliant people with such a like wide array of interests and like skills and capabilities that you can pick up off them.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the skills are very transferable, and it's not what you're doing as an apprentice. That with your dedicated team, you can go over to many different teams and apply the exact same skills. So, if there's any further questions that any of you have, I'll take a second or two just to read through them and obviously answer any questions that you have. There's been a couple about sort of apprenticeships and obviously if it's stressful and sort of like the balance. And I wouldn't say apprenticeships are designed to be stressful. obviously you are balancing the work and the apprenticeship side of things. However, I think a really key skill to have is that time management. And as long as you can manage your time with balancing the two, then that workload isn't actually that much. It's just when obviously you don't get to manage it that well, then it can probably seem a bit too stressful. But then even if it is in that stressful period, actually when you come out of it, you kind of look back going, actually, that wasn't that bad. So I wouldn't say apprenticeships are stressful. It's just really about how you would manage them. Becky, have you seen any questions that stand out to you?
Just trying to see. A lot of people are asking, like, as an apprentice, what does your day look like, your average day? So it might be good to hear from an apprentice themselves what their day involves.
And Becky, it's Ian here. Another big question, if you don't mind me coming in, is around work experience. So I can't type as fast as the number of questions on work experience. So whilst the apprentices are trying to work out who wants to speak to your thing, shall I just cover the work experience point?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay, right. So there's a difference here between internships and work experience because there's lots of questions on both. So internships at Lloyds Banking Group at the moment, we only offer to people who are already at university. And that internship program will be open from the end of September, and it would be for penultimate year university students. So it is generally for those who are just waiting to go into their final year, whether that's a third year or fourth year, of course, depends on your degree. That's internships. We also do industrial placements for those who are on degrees as well, and that's a year-long placement. If you're in year 10, 11, and 12, because I can see lots of questions saying, I'm in year 10, what about work experience? I'm in year 11. What about work experience? I'm in year 12. So I'll try and do all of those together. So we will do work experience. They will be advertised through our connector platform. We'll show you the link later on. We are increasing the amount of capacity that we're going to be offering during the school holidays because we know that it's always difficult for you to get released from school on the precise dates when we offer work experience. And my best advice for you at the moment is either make sure that you're following the Eventbrite platform or that you're in our connector platform, and then you'll be notified when there is work experience. Some of that will be virtual. We do that with young professionals. We did a legal work experience during the summer, for example. We had 3,500 of you on that 2-day legal experience. Some of them will be in person in our main campus sites, likely to be Bristol, Leeds, and Edinburgh. But as I said, we'll advertise everything for you in that Imagine What's Next, and it will be first come, first served in there. So, okay, Becky, I just could see so many questions about work experience. I thought I will just jump in and
That's
answer
fine.
them.
May as well cover them all at once rather than typing the same answer back. I think, Tom, do you want to quickly run through what your day looks like?
Yeah, that's no problem. My normal day, so on a Friday is when I focus on my apprenticeship learning, which is usually it can depend on each scheme how they run this. But for my scheme, it's mostly like learning at home or in the office, wherever you are. And you just do some e-learning online. So you either have to read a book, or you watch some videos, or you do some like training on a tool. But then the rest of the week, so 4 days a week, I'm working on and my team at the moment, we're currently the AI Center of Excellence. So we're using new AI tools, trying to bring data visualization to conversational analytics. So you're able to talk to the data, and I mean, it doesn't sound the most interesting, but it is. It's really powerful, and it's a really useful tool. And it's really great that I'm being given the chance as an apprentice to work on some of the newest technology. I think, am I passing over to Becky or Jamie here?
I think it's me that you're passing over. I just want to say massive thanks to all of you. It's such a good reminder that there's no single path, whether it's uni, apprenticeships, or even work experience first. There's so many ways to start your career. I think now let's see what life looks like once you're actually inside Lloyds.
Okay, so we're now joined by Luke and Ellen. So Luke has had what he calls a squiggly career. He started as a grad, he left Lloyds, and he's come back again. Ellen started on the grad scheme back in 2019, and she's now an executive assistant in Reward. So let's hear their experiences.
Luke, let's start with you. Can you summarise your Lloyds journey for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to do so. I first joined Lloyds Banking Group as an emerging talent intern in 2015. I actually spent the summer planning career events at universities when I was a university student myself, so that was a little bit meta. Since then, I've completed the graduate program in people and also a master's in HR whilst working in a range of roles here. But I don't see careers as something that are a linear straight line. I actually see them as opportunities to take like what you want with both hands from in your life and then like really go for things. So my like experience so far in my career is, I would say, being one where like I'm quite a self-starter, quite curious, and I want to give things a go. And I think that's what's helped me to progress quite quickly in my career so far. But I left Lloyds Banking Group around 2022 and I got a role at UBS, which for me was a moment of opportunity. But I moved back into Lloyds Banking Group a couple of years back. So I'm what we call a boomerang. And because I left and then returned, I wanted an opportunity to do something in a global business, but actually really realised what mattered to me in my career. And that's why I returned to Lloyds Banking Group.
Yeah, and that goes on to my next question. Obviously, what was the key factor coming back to Lloyds? I'm not like another job opportunity.
Yeah. So I work in the people and places team in the performance and recognition space. And my role is all about helping colleagues to understand what they're doing at work, making sure that feedback is really fair, and supporting line managers across the organisation to recognise great performance from people in their teams. And I think about that like I'm part of a team that helps people to grow in their careers and feel really valued for what they do. But on a personal level, when it comes to like going to work, one of the things that I find the most important is the culture of the organization that I'm working in. So my role's in our culture and leadership team. And what that means is we're like driving forward the culture of the organization. And Lloyd's is a really inclusive place to work. So whilst I worked in another organization that was global, it was cool because my job was affecting people all across the world. And we had a like really big number of colleagues at the company that I worked for. But I felt like there was something missing for me. And like the tangibility of the impact, like Lloyds is a UK focused company. All the people who I work with really closely are based in the UK, and we could have a lot of like face-to-face interactions and build relationships in a different way. So I studied international business at uni. I thought working in an international business would be the right thing for me as a result of that. But really what I found out was I feel more fulfilled working in a UK focused company where I can see more of the impact for customers that we're making through the work that I do.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. I think of all the people I know that have left Lloyds and come back, they've all said that it's just not the same. The grass isn't always greener.
The grass isn't always greener.
It definitely isn't. So, Ellen, sort of same but different question to you. Could you summarise your journey towards Lloyds and how you got here for us?
Yes, of course. So I joined Lloyds in 2019, as we said a minute ago, on the Enterprise Leadership Graduate Scheme. So at the time, we had more generic graduate schemes. So my one was focused on rotating across LBG, growing leadership skills throughout the business. Whereas now we've pivoted and we have some of those more specialist schemes that you've heard about. I did my rotations in a lot of people-focused roles. So I didn't really quite fit the ambition that was set out of experiencing different places across the business, but I basically found something that I really enjoyed, and the emerging talent, the next gen talent team, were super supportive at me putting my hand up and saying, this is kind of where I want to stay. I feel like I'm really growing and developing here, and they allowed me to do that, which was great. They were so flexible. So I have ended up spending most of my time here in different HR focused roles. I definitely learned super quickly that it was that sort of understanding how we motivate our people and then being able to pull different levers across our different areas of expertise to attract the top talent that definitely massively appealed to me. So after the grad scheme, I worked a few other strategic people roles. I spent a year looking after our colleague recognition proposition. So this was all about how we recognise and celebrate our people for their contributions. I then pivoted to a change project role, which was fascinating, which was working on setting up an international skills hub in India, which we now call our Lloyds Technology Centre. We were originally challenged to do that within 1 year, and then the timeline got crunched to 6 months. So we definitely had to work at pace on that one. And I loved kind of working with a really core group of people every single day to make massive progress to a big strategic priority for the group. For the past nearly a year and a half now, I've been what we call an executive assistant here, and that's for our total reward team. The best way that I could think of to describe this role is that you are essentially Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada. But thankfully, one of the things that Lloyds is known for, as you've heard all of us reference, are the friendliness of its people. So I definitely don't work for a Meryl Streep type character, but basically you're supporting a director and their team to be able to do what they need to do to achieve their goals and objectives. So I definitely love this role because it is very varied. Every single day is very different. Every hour is even very different. And you have to pivot and be very reactive. So sometimes you're working on super strategic papers, going to Lloyd's board and influencing big decisions. And the next you're sort of helping the team with more of an operational but immediate situation or people issue that they need to deal with. So far, definitely a very HR focused career. But I've been able to kind of move and mobilize a lot within that, which I've loved.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of touched on your next question of what made you stay and develop, but I suppose it's just having that opportunity and there's no path that you have to take. You can choose whichever way you want. I suppose instead of asking what made you develop then, where do you see yourself maybe in the next couple of years progressing that career further?
Oh, interesting question. Where do I see myself in the next couple of years? I definitely would say that one of the exercises that I've found most useful when thinking about the next steps in my careers has been listing out almost sitting and observing my days and noticing where I become super energized. So making a list of all of the things that make me feel super energized and therefore mapping that to what do I need from my next role. And what I've often found, or so far found, is that through doing that exercise, I've actually managed to find roles and go and speak to my mentors and other people around me. I've managed to follow the sequence of what I want to do next and understand where those opportunities might be in Lloyds. So for me so far, it's definitely been being intentional and thinking strategically about almost 1 step ahead, 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead, and therefore what is the journey to do to kind of get there. In terms of one of the things that I'm thinking about, I'm definitely starting to think about, now I've done a few years here in HR, what does that next move look like? So a bit of a crossroads decision of, do I want to potentially go elsewhere, do a bit of a look and get some experience somewhere else, but maybe down the HR route, or am I more interested in pivoting internally to some of our other opportunities that we have here, perhaps going into one of our more customer focused areas.
Thanks, Ellen. And yeah, you learn so many different skills, and it's always important about trying to focus on those skills that you enjoy, because obviously the good old saying is it's not a job if you enjoy it. And so you want to come in every day and do those skills that you enjoy. So Luke, how did stepping away from Lloyds sort of shape your perspective or skills?
Yeah, I think it's an important point that you touched on there, that you spend a lot of your time, a lot of your life as a result of that at work. So it's really important that you feel what you're doing is fulfilling and you enjoy it. One of the things that I enjoy the most is using what I think is my top skill of curiosity. So I like really enjoyed working in jobs where I get to spend a lot of my time speaking to people, understanding them, what they enjoy and find fulfilling, and how we can make improvements that really work for them. And actually using that skill day to day is one of the most fulfilling things for me. So that's probably my top piece of advice, and the biggest thing that I've learned in my career so far is to spend time reflecting on what I enjoy and those skills that I'm building as a result of my different opportunities that are presented to me.
Okay, I think we've got time for maybe one more really quick question. Ellen, over to you. If we build on that sort of skills chat, how would you say you've navigated that transformation from being on the grad scheme to a more fast-paced permanent role?
Oh, good question. I would definitely say that the transition has been exciting and challenging in all the best ways, but is definitely still ongoing. I'm a big believer in always being a work in progress. And so, yeah, always looking to kind of move forward and have that growth mindset. One of the big things that I would say I took from the grad scheme was I thought it was super helpful to understand all of the perks of the graduate scheme and then think about how I could kind of continue to tap into those perks as I kind of move forward in my career. So one thing that I really noticed here is that people really rate graduates with that, or kind of anyone who's starting out in their career here, with that can-do attitude, the willingness to get stuck in and kind of tackle a problem, even if they don't necessarily always have the skills or resources to do it, but finding a way through. So I've definitely continued to behave in that way to try and sort of continue to have that grad spark. And I also definitely during the graduate scheme and continue to do this pretty much on the daily now. I really lean on the cohort of the other graduates that I learned. So touching on points other people made earlier about the network and all of the other people going through what you're going through, but in their own different pockets and business areas. And I just find that through talking to each other and connecting, there's just so much to learn in that way, which has been super helpful. And then when I focused on that kind of new faster pace permanent role, I think the big thing that I try and do is be super present and look for opportunities to always be operating at the next level. So I definitely look to other people and try and learn from them. When I look at someone that I'm admiring or they're achieving a lot at work, what is it that they're doing? What am I wowed by them? And then what aspects of that work for me to take into my working life to sort of develop in that way. So I've definitely found that the roles on the grad scheme did set me up for success in terms of future roles, but I definitely still use my goals and development plan and all those good things to kind of keep going on that journey.
Thanks both, such amazing answers. It's so interesting to see that careers don't have to be a straight line. It's reassuring to know that changing direction doesn't mean you're failing. It can actually mean you're making your career richer.
Okay, so earlier we asked you in the poll, on a scale from 1 to 5, how much knowledge do you have on grad schemes, internships and apprenticeships? It's time to check again. Where are you now after hearing from Ian and the different entry routes about all these grads and apprentices? Even if you've moved up one step, one number, that's a great step forward. Or much better, lots of 4s, a few 5s now. Well, that's a good sign, isn't it?
And
Majority 4s.
And now let's revisit poll 2. How likely are you to see Lloyds Banking Group as a place you could apply to? 1, not at all. 5, very likely. Seeing a lot more 5s than last time, which is a good start. And I think a lot more 4s than 1, 2, and 3 than last time. So we've clearly informed you and obviously about why Lloyds should be a good place to work in the future, which is always the message that we want to get across.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm glad a lot of you want to come and join us to work here. It's great seeing people moving up the scale as well in terms of your understanding. And it's exactly what tonight was about. So don't forget that you can catch the replay of this live stream on the Lloyds Banking Group Careers YouTube tomorrow. And you can also develop your career readiness skills on our new Connector site, which has a host of development modules, real colleagues from Lloyds who you can connect with as mentors. And you can also see different events and opportunities that we've got coming up.
Many of you also like to write stories about how Lloyds Careers Live is helping you on LinkedIn. We do love reading all of those stories, so don't forget to tag us. It means a lot to read your experience and it helps us to understand how to make the show better for next time as well. You can also see what it's like to work at Lloyds Banking Group by following our behind the scenes TikTok. Just search up Lloyds Banking Group and you'll see us pop up.
Okay, so everyone else is still just settling into school mode, but by attending this session, you have already got some insider information and hopefully a more of a structured plan on how to kickstart your career. So here's some suggestions of what you could do next. First, sign up to a SkillFest event near you via Eventbrite. So this will help you get a real look at our offices and a day of interactive activity. And like Ian said, these are weekend events where you'll get the chance to come in and bring your parents to try your hand at some jobs that we have at Lloyds, and you can see inside our buildings. I know Ian's given a little sneak peek there, but there's lots more to see, especially in Bristol. Secondly, follow Lloyds Banking Group on TikTok for behind the scenes career tips. As Jamie mentioned, you may also recognise me on there. I suppose that's another example of an opportunity outside of your day-to-day role, that things that you can get involved with, being in the social media and everything like that, opportunities to do a bit more fun stuff with the TikTok. And then third is to sign up to our Faster Forward site on Connector and to reach out to mentors and to complete some learning modules.
Most importantly, don't wait until you have it all figured out. None of us did. Just take your next small step.
Thanks to all our guests and to everyone who joined us tonight. It has been great having you here.
Thanks for joining us. See you at the next Careers Live.
Thanks, everyone.
Eyes wide open, see the road ahead. Every step a spark, every word unsaid. The world spins fast, but you hold the key. What could be is waiting, what could be is free. Move us, make you. The power's in what you do. Move us, make you. The world is calling to. Mountain starts as a grain of sand. Every change begins with one brave hand. The future's here, you can shape the clay. Turn the ordinary into a brighter day. Move us, make you. The power's in what you do. Move us, make you. The world is calling to. Every voice, every hand, every dream take a stand. Building something we can all believe. Together rising we achieve.